Today we will learn about the Sijmali Hills in Odisha, where tribals are fighting to protect their land and forests against mining and railway projects. Let's understand the issue. The location is Sijmali Hills, Raigada district, Odisha. It was resource rich in bauxite, which was used for making aluminium. Government plan is first a road was proposed to connect the mines to the main highway. Tribals protested, saying it would destroy forest and sacred sites. Now, the government has announced a railway line to link the mines directly to the main road and ports. Tribal protested. Local Dongria Kond and other tribal groups say their rights are being ignored. They fear displacement, deforestation, and loss of livelihood. Let's understand why the tribals say their rights are violated. Forest Rights Act 2006 gives tribals rights over forest land and community resources. Panchayat Extension to Schedule Areas Act 1996 requires Grama Sabha, that is village council consent before using tribal land for projects. The violation is tribals alleged that neither proper consent nor environmental safeguards were followed. The cultural impact is hills are sacred to tribal communities, mining threatens their traditions and a way of life. Let's understand the constitutional and legal framework governing this issue. Article 21. Right to life includes livelihood and environment. Fifth schedule of the Constitution protects the tribal areas requiring special safeguards. Panchayat Extension to Schedule Areas Act 1996. Gram Sabha approval is mandatory for land acquisition in the tribal area. Forest Rights Act 2006. It recognizes tribal rights to forest land and resources. Judicial oversight. Supreme Court in Samata Judgment 1997 held that tribal land cannot be transferred to non-tribals or private companies without consent. Let's see who are victims and accused. Victims are tribal communities losing land, forest, water, and cultural identity. Accused is state government and mining companies pushing project without consent. To ensure balanced tribal autonomy and developmental activities, these steps can be followed. Gram Sabha consent. Ensure tribals village councils approve projects. Environmental safeguards. Independent ecological studies before construction. Benefit sharing. Tribals must get jobs, healthcare, schools, and a share of mining profits. Sacred sites protection. Hills and forests important to tribal culture must be left untouched. Alternative development. Promote ecotourism, forest produce industries, and renewable energy instead of destructive mining. So, the Sijmali Hills story is about finding balance, respecting tribal rights while planning development. True progress means protecting people and nature together. Today we will learn about denotified tribes. Those are communities once wrongly called criminals, now struggling for dignity and equality. Denotified tribes are communities once branded as a criminal tribes under British colonial law. They were denotified in 1952 after independence, but stigma and lack of state support continue to marginalize them. Today, they make up nearly 10 crore people across India, yet only 7 states issue proper certificates to access welfare schemes. Let's understand the background of the issue. In the colonial era, British passed the Criminal Tribes Act 1871, labeling certain communities as hereditary criminals. This was based on a prejudice, not evidence, and it led to surveillance, restrictions, and social stigma. Post-independence, in the 1952, the Criminal Tribes Act was repealed and these groups were officially denotified. However, many were still monitored under Habitual Offenders Act in different states. Let's understand who are denotified tribes. The communities that traditionally lived nomadic or semi-nomadic lives pastoralists, traders, entertainers, or artisans. Around 1,200 communities across India. Nearly 268 remain unclassified, not included in SC, ST, or OBC lists. Let's understand the population and the spread of the denotified tribes. And the population is estimated 10 crore people, about 8 to 9% of the India's population. According to Census 2011, no separate count, but estimates suggest 8 to 10% of the population. And the regions, they were spread across Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. Let's understand the constitutional and legal framework governing this issue. Article 14, Equality before the law. Article 46, State must promote educational and economic interests of weaker sections. SC, ST, OBC inclusion. Many denotified tribes included in these categories, but misclassification dilutes their identity. The schemes are Seed Scheme 2021 for education, skill development and housing. Pradhan Mantri Ayush Yojana Gramin. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. Housing benefits but lack of certificate blocks access. And the problem is only 7 states issue denotified tribe certificates, leaving most with welfare access, without welfare access. Only 7 states in India currently issue community certificates to denotified tribes, according to Social Justice Ministry 2025-2026 report. This lack of certification blocks millions of people from accessing welfare schemes like housing under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin and education under SEED. The states that issue certificates include Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Uttar Pradesh. Most other states have yet to set up proper mechanisms. In the current conditions and demands of the denotified tribes are they want separate classification. Many leaders demand a distinct category like SC, ST, or OBC. Certificates. Lack of denotified tribe certificates prevent access to housing, scholarship, and jobs. Grievance redressal. Tribals demand state-level boards and welfare departments. Recognition of history. Communities want acknowledgement that they resisted colonial rule, not criminality. And here is the suggested method to solve the issue. First, issue certificates. States must urgently provide denotified certificates, tribe certificates. Separate welfare boards, dedicated directorates for denotified tribes in each state. Census recognition, proper enumeration in Census 2027. Awareness campaigns to remove stigma and educate mainstream society. Benefit sharing, ensure housing, education, and skill development schemes reach them directly. The story of denotified tribes is about justice delayed, once branded criminals now demanding dignity. True equality means giving them certificates, rights, and respect at par with everyone else. Today we explore how the Supreme Court is deciding whether women's entry into mosque is a matter of faith or fairness. The Supreme Court recently heard arguments from the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, which admitted that women are allowed to enter mosques and pray, but cannot demand entry through the main door or removal of gender barriers. The court linked this issue to its ongoing review of the Sabarimala verdict and the broader essential religious practice doctrine, which determines what religious customs are constitutionally protected. And the background of the issue is the petition filed in 2019 by the Yasmin Jubair Ahmed and her husband seeking women's unrestricted entry into mosques. AIMPLB stance was women can enter mosques, but congregational prayers are mandatory for men, optional for women. Women cannot insist on using the main entrance. Physical barriers separating men and women are part of discipline. In the Supreme Court context is the case is being heard alongside the Sabarimala reference as both involve gender and religious freedom. Essential religious practice doctrine is which was originated in Commissioner Hindu Religious Endowments Madras versus Sri Lakshmitra Tirtha Swami of Shirar Mutt 1954. Court said only practices essential and integral to the religion are protected under Article 25. And the later cases are Durga Committee versus Syed Hussain Ali 1961. It ruled superstitious or secular practices not protected. Shaira Bano versus UNAF India 2017. Triple Talaq declared non-essential. Indian Ink Lawyers Association versus State of Kerala 2018. Sabarimala verdict allowed women aged 10 to 50 to enter temple. Exclusion rule non-essential. Supreme Court on Sabarimala review. 2018 verdict. It allowed women aged 10 to 50 to enter Sabarimala temple. Review 2026. Nine judge bench. Review 2026. Nine judge bench debating whether ERP document should continue. Judges noted difficulty in declaring millions beliefs non-essential. Some argue ERP gives courts too much power over theology. Does women's entry into mosque qualify as essential religious practice? Islamic practice, Prophet Muhammad said, do not stop women from coming to mosque. And the controversy is entry itself is not disputed. The issue is how women enter, through main door versus side doors barriers. Court's role is it must decide if restrictions are essential to Islam or just to social custom. Constitutional and legal framework governing this issue are Article 25, freedom of religion subject to public order, morality, health, and fundamental rights. Article 26, autonomy of religious denominations. Principal distance model. India respects faith but intervenes when practices violate equality or dignity. Judicial oversights. Courts balance religious freedom with equality, Article 14, and dignity, Article 21. The mosque entry case shows how India's constitution balances faith and fairness, deciding whether separating women is an essential religious practice or just a custom that needs change. Mallikarjun Kharge says the Modi government has failed India's farmers and people by not securing fuel and fertilizer, a double F grade in national security. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge accused the Modi government of scoring a double F, failing on both fuel and fertilizer security. He pointed to declining domestic production, stranded oil vessels, and fertilizer shortages, hitting farmers during the Kharif season. Opposition parties argue this is a national security issue, while the government it is diversifying imports and building reserves. Let's understand the issue. Fuel security. India imports 85% of the crude oil. Domestic production has fallen 22% since 2014-15. Gas output down 40% over the past decade. Kharge highlighted 14 Indian flagged vessels stranded in the Strait of Hormuz for over 50 days, showing vulnerability to global disruptions. LPG supply issues. New connections halted, rural consumers face 45-day waits and black marketing. Fertilizer security. India's fertilizer policy is heavily skewed towards urea, which is subsidized. Balanced nutrients like potash and phosphates are imported, but supplies have been disrupted by China's restrictions and Russia's export halt. Fertilizer production fell to a 5-year low in March 2006, down 24.6% year-on-year. Shortages reported across multiple cropping seasons, hitting kharif crops like rice and pulses. Strategic petroleum. Let's understand about strategic petroleum reserves. India has strategic petroleum reserves in Visakhapatnam, Mangalore, and Padur, covering about 9 to 10 days of demand. Experts argue India needs reserves for 30 to 45 days to withstand global crisis. Let's understand the government's response. Cabinet Committee. PM Modi set up a team to secure fertilizer and fuel from multiple countries. And the deals are agreements with Morocco, such as phosphates, Russia with fertilizer, and Gulf nations such as fuel. Goal is diversify fuel supply sources and reduce dependence on single regions. Let's understand why the opposition slammed the government. Failure to anticipate global shortages, inadequate reserves and poor diversification, heavy reliance on imports instead of boosting domestic production. Farmers left facing high cost and shortages during critical crop seasons. Let's understand the constitutional and legal framework governing this issue. Article 21 says right to life includes food security. Directive Principles of State Policy, Article 3947 says states must ensure adequate nutrition and improve agriculture. National Food Security Act 2013 says it relies on strong fertilizer and fuel supply chains and suggested solutions for improving the situation are expand strategic petroleum reserves to cover at least 30 to 45 days of demand, diversify fertilizer imports with long-term contracts across multiple regions, boost domestic production of fertilizers, oil or gas, promote balanced fertilizer use, reduce over-reliance on urea, invest in alternatives such as biofertilizers, renewable energy, and green ammonia. Fuel and fertilizer shortages are not just about economics, they are about India's security. The challenge now is whether the government can balance imports, reserves, and domestic production to keep the nation fed and powered. A fresh storm in Parliament. Opposition MPs have filed a new notice to remove the Chief Election Commissioner, accusing him of 9 acts of misbehavior. Opposition MPs have submitted a fresh notice in the Rajya Sabha to remove Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar, citing 9 charges of proven misbehavior. The earlier notice was rejected by the Rajya Sabha Chairman C.P. Radhakrishnan and Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla for being procedurally defective and lacking specific grounds. The new notice, backed by 73 MPs, lists detailed allegations. The 9 charges against Chief Election Commissioner are: first one, partisan asymmetry in enforcing the Model Code of Conduct. Opposition alleged PM Modi's April 18 address violated Model Code of Conduct, but no action was taken. Instead, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge was issued a notice. 2. Public denunciation of political party on Election Commission of India's official social media. Straight talk post targeting Trinamool Congress seen as a partisan. 3. Administrative lapses showing proximity to ruling party. Example, Kerala seal incident where official seals were mishandled. 4. Disenfranchisement of voters. Faulty special intensive reason framework allegedly excluded voters. 5. Duplicated voter list. Errors in electoral rolls leading to disenfranchisement. 6. Failure to act on complaints against ruling party leaders. Selective enforcement of Model Code of Conduct. 7th. Bias in allocation of election observers and officials. Opposition claims posting favored BJP interests. 8th. Opaque handling of electoral data. Lack of transparency in publishing voter turnout figures. 9th. Acts and omissions since March 15, 2026. Opposition argues these constitute proven misbehavior under Article 324, Class 5 of the Constitution. Let's understand why the first notice was rejected. Rajya Sabha Chairman C.P. Radhakrishnan and Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla rejected the earlier motion because it lacked specific charges and was considered vague. It did not meet procedural requirements under Article 324, Class 5 and the Chief Election Commissioner and Other Election Commissioners Act 2023. The grounds were seen as political statements rather than documented misbehavior. Let's understand the constitutional and legal framework governing this issue. Article 324, Class 5 says Chief Election Commissioner can only be removed like a Supreme Court judge. Article 124, Class says it requires a proved misbehavior or incapacity. Judges Inquiry Act 1968 sets procedure for inquiry. Chief Election Commissioner and Other Election Commissioners Act 2023 codifies appointment and removal process. Whether these charges stand or fail will test India's constitutional safeguards, balancing the independence of the Election Commission with accountability to Parliament.